Well, hello everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of MBTV News, otherwise known as Metaworld News, depending on which way up you are when you're viewing it, I suppose. Enough of that. Enough of that. My name is Mal Burns. That's Mal, one word. Burns, another word. But if you want to find me on the interwebs, of course I'm squashed, just like everything else on the interwebs. So, twitter.com/MalBurns, MALBURNS, for example, is where you can find most of the news links we'll be talking about. You'll find a few other ones at twitter.com/Metaworld News. And guess what? That's two words that have been squashed as well, so go figure. Right, joining me well, first of all, I would say that today is the 12th of June, and therefore you're going to be hearing our headlines for the week ending 12th of June. Plenty more to talk about. The links are actually in that feed, but we can't possibly get them all into 40 minutes here. Joining me in the studio, as always, is none other than James Atlloud. So, welcome, James.
Thank you, Mal. Happy 12th of June.
Health of yes, yeah, and happy health. Sorry, 12th of June to you. Yeah, it's like a birthday that's not, isn't it?
It does, indeed.
something like that. Anyway, right. Yes, indeed, indeed. And why have I got notifications on my screen? Never mind. Right. Okay. James, for those of you who don't know, he handles all the audio and video and stuff, and he's famous for fiddling with his knobs under the news desk.
Don't tell
Yes.
my mother.
Fair enough.
Fair
Compromise.
enough. Right.
Fair enough. Right, okay. So basically, in order that we're not just a talking head show, James sort of can bring you my desktop, he can bring you my avatar at various angles, he can even put his avatar in there and do all sorts of fancy stuff to make it a bit more lively. And of course, we sometimes have pictures and videos and stuff to share too. So we will go. I'm going to start off with like the picture news, as it were, just a couple of posters to sort of show you. Um, this I don't. There we are, September 20th to 21st. There's an EU summit, as in European Union summit, at gatherverse.org. Now, Gatherverse. They've one continent, humanity first is their sort of logo. I'm not really sure. I'm not that familiar with Gatherverse, except that it is a virtual world that is vaguely presentable and runs on the web. It may well have a dedicated client too, but I know it actually runs as a sort of XR app on the web. So it could be interesting what they're doing there. I don't know much more about it yet, but it's a fair way off. Wellness, equality, education, community, accessibility, safety, and privacy seems to be on the agenda. Well, I love this other subtitle. May our gather be well. Yeah, well, I suppose that's what you expect at a gathering, or a gatherverse, I mean. Anyway, moving on, moving on. Another display picture here. This is spatial. Another one of the new wave things. Well, I don't know. It appealed to me because it's a psychedelia gallery, and it's opening June the 11th, which is yesterday, at 8 o'clock, and music, NFT concerts, etc. Blah blah blah. Scavenger hunt prizes and over 60 artists. You might want to check it out. Of course, this poster doesn't actually tell me or remind me of whether it's just that it opened yesterday and how long it's going on for. But anyway, it's sort of it's on spatial, that one. This chap, none other than Neil Stevenson. He's the chap who wrote a novel called Snow Crash, and been very influential. Well, we'll come to this a bit later in the program. But he is actually taking some time off from writing to launch. Yes, it was something called a metaverse. In collaboration with some people who should know, and he's actually dedicated to the idea of an open internet and an open metaverse and everything. So it's very unclear at the moment what he's doing, but for him to put his name into the mix, so to speak. This actually comes on a week, and I don't think we've got this elsewhere in the news, when poor old Emperor Zuckerberg has got himself into a real mess. He's been taken to court I think, in the States or by some states, but also in Europe, also separately in Britain. Everybody's in, if it's not privacy, it's mishandling data, it's who knows what. On top of which, he's losing so much ad revenue on Facebook itself, that his ambitions in his metaverse seem to be being curtailed. They've cut back on all sorts of stuff just in the last week. And this is from the guy who said, "Well, I'm in for the long haul until 2030." I think that rather assumes that the Facebook organization, which is one of his subsidiaries, of course, would have continuing ad revenue, but apparently people are deserting Facebook too, both as users and, of course, the advertisers go where the users go, or rather, they don't hang around if there aren't any users. Anyway, good luck to Neil Stephenson on his little project there. Talk about getting it wrong. This is somebody called Paul Krugman in 1998. He was a Nobel Prize winning economist. And guess what he said? He said by 2005 or so, it will become clear that the internet's impact on the economy has been no greater than the fax machine. I think that's another classic case of, this is one of my collection of people who got it wrong. Had to show it, didn't I? Moving on. Right. All USA. We'll be glancing a little bit about this shortly, and on a Iron World review program later, we'll probably mention it a bit. It's all over now. But all the USA. Oh, actually, I got this wrong a minute ago. All the recordings there are now actually live. I haven't embedded them in the Mastodon feed yet, but I will do so some point this week. Basically, just grab them all into one piece. But you can go to all.live to watch all the sessions anyway. Right, moving down. Oh, we covered that one already. Oh, well, that's it, actually, except for a grand picture. Ori Umbar on the far left here, who, of course, was the one who convenes OR. And basically, everybody else who talking is. Well, in terms of on stage, I don't think it includes the audience, of course. But anyway, they all go together for a group photo, as is the ones at these sort of things, really. And that's Tish. That's Tish with the glasses on in the front row, just off centre in the middle. I'm sure that's her. It's hard to tell when you've got a big photo like that, but anyway. Right, okay, so the picture post is walking. Bye-bye picture post, and we'll move on to some of the first web links, I think. The first post I've got up here is from scarghost.com. We might as well cue the music on that, eh, James? Woo! Yes. Wolf in presence. Right. The XR Wheat Peak. Now, this is the exception to our news headlines for 12th of June, really, because this is Scar Ghost, Tony Fratello's own headlines that came out on Monday, so they're for the week before, if you see what I mean. But it's a good way to catch up, and no doubt tomorrow, 13th, there'll be 13th, there will be another roundup. So we're on the cusp of roundups here, really. He was over at all, so he sort of everything he's been writing for a couple of weeks has been sort of centered around him going and coming back and everything, improvising on routes. But it's he's just a roundup. He was wrong, of course. Apple's developer conference happened this week, and there was absolutely nothing about Apple's upcoming headset there, which doesn't actually surprise me. But apparently, some people thought they were going to hear about it, even though it's not supposed. If it's coming at all, it's in a year away. And no mention of the Reality OS operating system that they're supposedly developing for it. I'll come to it later because I have a little post about it. There may actually, in some of the talks, or the things that were announced, there may be a few little hints in there as to the direction they are taking, which will be, a direction suitable for whatever headwear they're going to bring out. But long way off yet. Never believe the rumours. Wait till I'm fat before you write about them. Hint, hint, somebody. All right. Not Scar Ghost, of course. He knows what the rumour is and what the facts are. Right, moving on down. Go there anyway. Check out the week before last. Everything you could possibly want is probably there. Right, moving down. I'm going to go to organics.org, AUGNIX.org. More augmented reality news, and it's taking a while to load, isn't it? Never mind. That's life. Trilight and Dispelix. Who knows? They've announced a partnership on ultra compact projection display for AR glasses. this will be of interest to those of you who, find the technology, the input devices, the haptics and everything, and the direction it's taking. This is hardware that's suitable for AR glasses and things like that, but it is a system, as far as I know. Trixel 3 is an image creation system, for example, needing a projector, but as far as I know, there's no products on the market or even in beta that actually use this yet, except for their own demos. So you'll find this at organics.org, auganix.org. Moving down the list, and we're back on Lord Zuckerberg again. Okay, Zuckerberg's metaverse ripe for terror recruitment, say the EU. I told you he was in trouble this week. There's well, it's an article you need to listen to. Really, it's a sort of, as you can see, you can play it here. Well, it's very short. Actually, I think the playing is really just it's speaking the words of the article. But the EU federal police agency, as it were, Europol, which is the police force for all the European Union as opposed to the individual members, is already looking on how to crack down on potential crimes in the virtual world. But they're also worried about cryptocurrencies and helping terrorist organizations fund themselves, even possibly by stealthily operating their own metaverses. All of this is confusing when we get into the meta world. Whether it's singular or plural, we don't know yet. Anyway, the suspicion is that the unhealthy stuff is going on, and they need to act fast, and they need to act now to stop it getting out of hand. And one of the targets there, of course, is Lord Zuckerberg himself, who is not known for being a cooperative sort of fellow, is he? Anyway, move that one part way. And that previous one was at a site called EU Observer. So EUOBSERVER.com. As always, if you follow my Twitter feed, you can find the direct links to these articles. And the beauty there is it will take you to the exact page. I'm afraid some of the links I give out here, if you can remember them at all, unless you're quick on the pencil, they do tend to take you to home pages, etc. Anyway, this next one is at xrtoday.com. We got quite a few from them this week. xrtoday.com. And Unity, their CEO is Ricky Leto, I forget his first name. John. That bit's easy, isn't it? Skull Ghost actually has done an interview with him separately, which is very comprehensive too, and he managed to get it before Ricky Leto got on stage at all, in fact. But they believe that it will be the websites that will gradually turn into metaverse hubs. I presume that is coming from the perspective of Unity's software and things. It's the software is used for building everything these days. Plenty of games and offline downloadable, products are built with Unity, but he does seem to think that when it comes to the metaverse type stuff, it is actually going to be the hubs themselves are going to probably still be on the web and take you into the whatever verse. I shall call it the whatever verse. From there. Anyway, those are his thoughts, and you'll find that at xrtoday.com. xrtoday.com, yes, again, another article, same site. And an interoperable metaverse. Well, Croquet explains how it's possible. Now, we did cover...
Croquet. That's an old
one. Yeah, I think it's different.
Oh, okay.
Well, I've been wondering about that, and I can't remember actually whether we included this last week, but maybe it was Monday. This week's just been I don't know where I'm coming or going, to be honest.
Right.
You can probably tell. Anyway, yeah, Croquet is the latest sort of player, and they've launched what they claim to be the world's first operating system for building the successor to the internet. This is a bit odd. I know Tim Berners-Lee has his portal type thing, no relation to Facebook's portal, by the way. that is supposed to advance the web. He decided against trying to rebuild it. It's better he takes what he created and tries to make it a bit more manageable. And but since all this talk of a metaverse and things, some people reckon it's Web 3, in which case it is web based. Some people just think of loads of different things, so they could be. There could be exhibitions online or off or web based or whatever. The real jumble, the matrix, if you like, of everything. It's so early yet to really talk about any cohesive thing called the metaverse, even if it's a daydream of Zuckerberg himself. Um, I think, it's a matter of following all the little strands that will ultimately start becoming that kind of thing. And a lot will depend on the world and finances and development and all sorts of other things that we just can't possibly know as yet. It's not all down to the technology alone. Anyway, so Demond, I thought I said Desmond for a minute, Curtin, um, he interviews David Smith, who's Chief Technology Officer for OK. They talk about the operating system aimed at reshaping the Web3 development landscape and the need for interoperability solutions, and also Croquet's features and advantages for its immersive world building and design. Right. I'm really falling over my wheels here, aren't I? Never mind. Moving down, moving down. Okay, we got some numbers here, which means guess what? It's very famous. Voices of VR.com. Well, Kent Bye is in full flurry again, or he has been this week. Although he's also been twittering from a load of other things, which I presume are going to turn up as podcasts in the next couple of weeks too. So there were a few. He's never far away. He's usually around on Twitter all the while. But I mean, there have been a couple of weeks recently when there was a bit of a dearth of Voices of VR. Once again, we're back to about one a day for this week. I'll tell you what we've got here. 1090 is looking at the IEEE XR ethics. And about diversity, inclusion, and accessibility. 1092, seem to have jumped one here, but I don't know why. IEEE ethics again. This one's about virtual clones and the right to your identity. All these, by the way, are they're all hosted podcasts hosted by Kent Bye, who does the interviews. 1093, XR ethics again, business and economics and finance. 1094 is medical XR, again ethics discussion, but and accompanying the interview there are these papers too that you can see here. I think they're all PDFs that are downloadable. As well as listening to the podcast with the people concerned. And 1095 right down here at the bottom as well. I'm jumping down my own list here. This is a preview of the Tribeca Film Festival 2022 with the curator Anna Brzezinska. And rather remarkably, this particular one has not converted into read format, but as you can see, there's a preview thing there, and you can click on the download link from there. Don't know why that hasn't converted, but never mind. Okay, so I'm going up my little list again here, behind the scenes where you cannot see me. I have to do all this myself, you see, while I'm live. So it's a bit of a. Right, just removing those items from the list. Okay, going up to the top again, we're coming to inputmag.com. That's INPUTMAG.com. And as I said at the beginning, Apple's WWDC conference, the developers conference, had nothing to do with the headsets as such. But this is an interesting article by Raymond Wong at inputmag.com. And he's actually posing the idea that, in fact, their AR headset as such was actually hiding in plain sight. It was hiding in plain sight by virtue of the detail in many of their announcements. The fact that they're debuting in the next Mac OS Stage Manager, for example. I can't wait for this, although only the very latest iPad with the the M2 chip or whatever will actually be able to run it. But I think it runs on Mac OS 2. But it basically means bringing full windows and multitasking and everything else into the iOS platform. But the way it works visually, at first I thought, well, why have they got that thing there, and why have they got floating windows, a bit like Microsoft's there, and what's this thing at the side? And then, as somebody has pointed out here, well, if you think ahead 2 years after this interface is launched, you can actually see how it will be perfectly adaptable to a headset. In other words, although they're promoting it as an iPad headset at the moment, iPad interface, you can easily see how it immediately would become a helmet interface if you really needed it. So little things here, and looking at this article, you get a few ideas about where they may be going. Although strictly speaking, this is pointing out things that they have announced at the conference, which was quite a lot, and picking out the particular bits of it that may give us hints as to AR or VR down the road. And it's well, this is a very interesting article anyway. So you want to go to inputmag.com, inputmag.com for that one. Moving down, good old Magic Leap, who, of course, they have a new version out, Magic Leap 2, which is a lot better than Magic Leap 1, but it does mean that Magic Leap 1, if you can find one, is actually a decent price now. Getting rid of them, I guess. And it never was a bad thing. It was just expensive, and it started off being sort of ultimately pretty secretive. Anyway, they've Magic Leap themselves have committed to open XR support with the Leap 2 headset when it comes out later in the year, in fact, as opposed to the proprietary environment they have for version 1. The goal of the headsets are quite different. The first headset, the company attempted to court developers and had its own ideas about its Lumin OS should handle apps and how they should be built. But they had financial turmoil and revival. And Lisa Watts, the new head of development, got on stage at OR to announce and reaffirm to all of you and to the entire industry we have support for open standards, making our platform very easy to develop for. So, along with Epic and a whole load of others, it seems like all the serious players here, even on the hardware front, are actually embracing the idea of OpenXR, which, of course, is probably the easiest umbrella category, to include both web and dedicated clients that will have open back ends and will, to a great extent, be not totally, but as hopefully a great extent, will be interoperable. And of course, we have the OMI, who are working on all this on many fronts at the moment. Right, so OpenXR is a royalty-free standard itself, aiming to standardize the development of VR and AR applications, etc., already backed by virtually every major hardware platform and engine company in the industry. So a growing number of AR players. Right. I'm going to quickly switch over for a brief little interview because we're talking about AR here, aren't we? So I'm going to pop up. Oh yes, this is the one. If you're thinking about augmented reality glasses, just make sure you don't wear them when you go to New York.
It's interesting you don't say Second Life.
Sorry about that. Right, yes, as you can see, somebody's put a marker for an augmented reality thing, rather a nice view of the horizon in the Big Apple. I just hope you don't walk to the marker with your glasses on and have them on autoplay, because you're going to get a real shock if you see that nuke going off in the Hudson Bay or whatever it is. But, you know, just an example of how dramatic it can get, I thought. It wasn't actually that well rendered, but the novelty of it, I thought, was something. Yeah, it's a bit of a warning too, isn't it, I suppose? Right, okay, so moving on from Magic Leap and OpenXR there, and Apple's stuff in plain sight. A company called Varjo, combo hands-on XR3 reality. This is the Skull Ghost again, eventually. And cue the music. Nah, maybe not. Yes, probably. Yeah. Hi, Tony. You're good. Hi, James. Thank you. Okay, looking at Varjo XR3, a gold standard for pass-through augmented reality, priced at $6,000 US. Cough, cough. It should provide a fantastic experience in both AR and VR, thanks to high-resolution displays and pass-through cameras. And yep, good old Tony himself, he's been able to try it on for a few minutes, both at Varjo and Ultraleap's different booths. That's it. Still a contraption, my way of thinking. Still very much a helmet, not a headset. That is, you know, it may not look like a helmet, but it's a helmet to me. Top, front, sides, you know, etc. And yeah, anyway, this is essentially just a review of it. You've also got a little bit of a demo there. Silent, of course. Not much to see, but oh well. You can see the robots at work here. Bit cute, isn't it? Yeah. I'll get my virtual robot to dump my headset in front of my headset. So I don't quite understand what's going on there. Right, okay, moving down. So you'll find that at, where did I say it was? The Ghost House, Scarred Ghost, of course. So scarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com for that one. Okay, this is a post actually from a site called New World Notes, also by Hamlet Orr. Now, this is the original, almost Second Life news site. Hamlet Orr moved. He widened his brief for a little bit for a while, but generally he reports on Second Life. But he does occasionally do some comments on the newer M word and stuff. And he's actually the first. So a lot of people have come up with this since, but somehow he's actually the first to notice the figures for both Sandbox and Decentraland having huge user loss. Now, I don't think they actually had that many users in the first place. These people then tend to, you know, inflate their figures. Blockchain, for example, claims to have 1,000 weekly active users, which compared with something like Second Life is nothing. But they seem to be losing them just as quick as they got them. And Sandbox too. Sandbox is the one that's famously been launching all these supposed called rock stars into the metaverse, and they, well, you know, they look like those original sort of 16-bit pixel icons. Why? Jamiroquai, for one, he recorded, you know, Virtual Insanity, and he claims to be quite interested in all this stuff. Why he actually chose this Sandbox to go and launch a world with, I have no idea. But he just looks stupid. But, you know, maybe he's in a time warp and thinks he's still in 1990. I don't know, but Jamiroquai could do better, in my opinion. Right, okay, so you'll find this at NWN. That's quite easy, actually. NWN, which stands for New World Notes, and then .blogs, plural, and then .com. Right, moving down. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show, actually, we had our nice little picture of Neil Stephenson. He's described here as a visionary futurist and a crypto pioneer. Yeah, I'm not so sure about his being a fan of crypto, but it's another matter. Crypto pioneer Peter Vesenzes, they've announced Lamina 1, which they're working on together, which is a layer 1 blockchain for the open metaverse. I have yet to find out. They've been getting a lot of praise for this and getting good luck and everything. I actually have to we'll go to maybe OMI or one of the other meetings during the week to actually find out just how this layer 1 blockchain technology might fit with some of the open metaverse stuff that is being built on already. If, because well, there's a lot of people involved in the open metaverse now, and you can't just come along and saying they're going to build one that's open metaverse without actually paying some attention to the principles that have actually been laid down so far. But we will see what we will see. I'm sure we'll hear more about this in due course. But quite interesting to see Neil Stephenson, who probably gave birth to the phrase metaverse, if not the total concept, and suddenly becoming described as a visionary futurist and actually giving up writing for a year to start working on this. So we will see what we will see. You'll find this post at businesswire.com. So that's businesswire.com. And is that link to is that page you'll find on my Twitter feed, twitter.com/Mal Burns. Right. This is a post at vrscout.com, vrscout.com. It's talking about a hospital metaverse, building a children's health centre in VR. They built a replica of a radiology department to comfort younger patients. Lot of stuff with VR and AR and medicine and stuff. Some of it is your therapeutic uses. Some of them is actual training sort of things. Nurses and surgeons can be trained in VR, where they can practice on things that they can't possibly practice on where they don't have enough dead bodies, so they have to do it in VR. But also the therapeutic side, which is a little bit more than just nice sound and visuals for patients or whatever. So find this at vrscout.com, vrscout.com. And I shall dispose of that one and the other ones. Oh, I can actually see the end of the list appearing in sight, although we're not there yet. It's like the end of the items. It's on the horizon. And this next thing goes to fortune.com, financial site, obviously. One of the weirder things that happened this week was that the guy in charge at Microsoft of their HoloLens thing and basically their whole VR AR department was caught watching VR porn in a Microsoft headset and promptly got sacked. And the off-turn of this is that I mean, I don't expect things to be in the hands of one person, but there's some furore now as to whether the whole HoloLens project is putting the future of Microsoft's augmented reality project in question. Because he was the executive in charge of HoloLens goggles, and without him they don't appear to know what they're doing. But what's new Microsoft? I don't know. Probably nothing there. Okay, the report on that comes from fortune.com, fortune.com. In a way, it's comforting. All these big players are sort of going down a bit, having paved the way a bit, and then sort of at the same time, all the smaller players can now come up, riding on the back of the money the big players have spent. Right, this site, I like this site actually. They're called the bigthink.com, and they're certainly not just about virtual worlds or AR or anything. But they had an article this week for VR training is the future. Here's why and how companies are going to be using it. And the time to begin exploring is now. So here are the pros, the cons, and the differences. Basically, this is a general roundup article. It's all in what they tell you in the title. It's one of those roundups that is probably a good quick link to send to people who want to know a bit more about using VR for training and stuff like that. There's plenty of people out there. Oh, I've heard about this M place. What is it? Can I use it for trading? You can point them to something like this. So bigthink.com, bigthink.com. And moving down the list, as it were, hastily. Right, this week in XR, right, this is the print version at Forbes of Charlie Fink's weekly roundup. He's had a busy week, Charlie, this week. He talks about the Apple thing. and a story of Bloomberg, and the fact there was no actual headset at Apple and whatever. It also mentions Neil Stephenson's plan. That's Stevenson again there. Not video, just picture of an interview. And oh yeah, Tony Parisi, of course, is he created VRML. He left Unity and he's moving. Oh God, forgotten the name, but he's moving on anyway. But still Metaverse stuff. Okay, Microsoft Technical Fellow Alex Kipman. Right, that's the guy who was watching. You can't see because his headset's up in the air, but he's watching virtual porn now. You see, and Microsoft don't approve of that. Right. So, Looking Glass Factory have launched a 65-inch holographic display. Unfortunately, it's plagued by the presence of Zuki, as you can see. So we'll forget about that one. Meta is now changing. It's launching Horizon Home, which is a one-stop for everything on your Oculus Home, I think. And in return, they're getting rid of half the other stuff, which will now be part of Home. I'm not quite sure. I don't use the headsets myself, so find out a bit later. There's Ricky Leto again from Unity. He did an interview with Scar Ghost, which you can read online, and the video interviews with Bloomberg. I think I may have that coming up in a bit. Okay, let me see what we're doing. I can't see what we're doing. Oh, crumbs, 36 minutes on there already. We haven't got much time left. Okay, knew this would happen. Right, going down the list. Skull Ghost again has a post called Roundup post, basically, from OR 2022 with hands-on with Toby and Ultraleap Technologies. And yeah, I think there are a few other posts from him during the week. I didn't put on my list here. Okay, GMW3.com. There's a post coming from this recently. They have this thing called Metaverse Weekly, which is another roundup site, basically. But it's quite illustrated and full of facts and graphics that won't scroll. There we go. Get there in the end. A general look at them. They are one of these sites that they're looking at the challenge of interoperability, and they're saying that would be the key to the future metaverse. All things very true, but they are one of these sites that I think overly rates things like blockchain and crypto as a very significant part of the metaverse per se. Those technologies will be in there, but there's no reason to assume that every platform is going to have cryptocurrencies or even similar ones. It's the essence of interoperability is what it's all about. And for as many people as are raving about crypto, for example, and blockchain, others are really worried about it. And indeed, they've got the market crashes. Bitcoin has lost almost all its value. It's like a dollar crashing and causing a recession. A lot of people with their bitcoins have not been happy people the last couple of weeks. Okay, within platforms like Decentraland and the Sandbox, there is coherence between that of the virtual worlds that uses and external blockchains networks. This is internal interoperability. Unfortunately, I don't think they read the article that both Decentraland and the Sandbox have been falling apart with losing all of their limited number of users. That was the New World Notes link I had earlier. So go figure. Anyway, you can read this at GMW3. So it's GMW letters lowercase and then 3 the number .com. Right, and this one's got a number in it too. This is flying into the metaverse. Right, area60of.com, area60of.com, and flying into the metaverse through books and culture. This whole project is coordinated by Cecilia Lascialafari, who you may know from the Italian OR contingent, along with the Skull Ghost, Tony himself. You've probably seen her on some of the videos we show. This is kind of her project, and it's quite a long article because it embeds some of the videos we've actually shown quite recently. Different authors and collaborators working on the project there. So if you're interested in books and culture and the metaverse and all the rest of it, check it out here. And they are announcing what's coming up from the project fairly shortly. So it's got a good informative little guide there. AREA6, the number, and then DOF.com. And that actually that is it for the links. So how long have I got left here on my maybe 5 minutes at most. Okay. Included in my Twitter feed, you will actually find my Mastodon feed here. Basically the shows that have come out this week, really. A new Between Realities here. With a VR gamer, Q2C was their main guest. A metaverse keynote from CKGSB, which I'm not quite sure what it is. It's in China anyway, but the keynote's in English. It's about the future of human communication, collaboration, culture, and commerce. So obviously to do with metaverses. Upload VR. Did you have a glass this week, James?
No, unfortunately I wasn't. I had a conference this week myself, so
right.
I'll have to catch up next week. Yep.
Yeah. Generally speaking, they're sort of focused on the Apple announcements, but they're one of these things that came 5 days ago. They sort of came out before the full announcement. They're going on their schedule was probably like on the transition between movement and fat, so but anyway, that was their main feature and stuff. Okay, now Charlie Fink and the XR Week podcast. Today's hasn't actually arrived here. Yes, don't know why that would be. Let's go reload the page to see if anything. No. God, I don't know what's going on. Okay, there were there were actually 6 different episodes from Charlie Fink. Essentially, it was this week. They've basically been at awe, and they did a 6-episode marathon job on rounding it up for us. So you've got episode 6, 5, 4, and 3, 2, and 1 coming up further down. You also had the Best of All 22, which was independent production, I think is safe to say, but looking at the best of it all these are embedded at YouTube. You can click through from my links. There's the first one's there, and upload VR. I must have posted it twice in the end. Okay. And then finally, the other one that's actually new this week, as far as I can see, is this one from earlier in the week. Some bloke basically, he'd been at all right, so he actually did a sort of podcast on the changing world at All 22, and changing the VR and AR world at All USA, and so it's a decent podcast worth watching. So those were his thoughts there, which takes me to the end. There is a weekly edition that came in today of the Week in XR here from Charlie Fink 2. I know I posted it, but whether it's actually arrived at the Mastodon site yet is another matter. It doesn't look like it has anyway. So that brings us to pretty much everything. Now I showed you. This is a glimpse, 41 seconds, right? A quick glimpse now at. These go away. Ooh. Oh, they're there, are they? Right, okay. I can't play all of this.
One of my favorite things about the metaverse is the fact that it can mean anything, right? And the definition for the metaverse is often what is most convenient for the people talking about it. It's like when my boyfriend says the sink is clean. Like, what do you mean by clean? What is clean to you? Yeah, to companies that sell virtual reality equipment, the metaverse is accessible to virtual reality. For companies that own video game companies. The metaverse is something that will be a platform.
Okay, this one is actually about 25 minutes long. I presume you can find it on Bloomberg's site um, if you hunt hard enough. They're looking at Unity and Super League Gaming and various other gaming and stuff. And yeah, obviously this was parallel with your conference going on. The interesting thing about this, and I'm only going to keep playing the beginning here, is that uh, it doesn't have Philip Rosedale on it, but it does have Brad Oberman.
Called metaverses that exist on the blockchain. The metaverse lives on the blockchain. So the definition right now is so malleable, and I'd love to hear from you, Brad. Don't define the metaverse, but tell me, how long have we really been talking about it?
Wow, probably since the first time I cleaned a sink. Well, certainly, everyone knows the book that came out, so Snow Crash. But probably when The Sims kind of came out, or Castle, when you could start doing something where two people were in a world or a game or anything at the same time, that's probably when we started doing it. So probably The Sims, and of course Second Life. When Second Life came out was probably at that point. Probably when the first gaming engine was created that allowed creators to do things and to have person-to-person transactions. Probably then. That would be the...
So 15 years ago?
Yeah, 2004, probably 2003, yeah.
It's interesting you don't say Second Life. So Second Life is the virtual world, notably not a video game, that Linden Lab, Brad's company, produces. And Second Life has been around since 2000...
2003, like
right?
Really 2003, 2004. It was a idea before that.
Is Second Life a metaverse?
No. I think Second Life is a virtual world. We don't use the term metaverse inside the company. If I'm trying to get into, Bloomberg or something like that, I'll say we're a metaverse for sure. But the metaverse as a next version of the internet, or what Mark Zuckerberg is calling it, or all these things, then we're part of that. But I really think of us as a virtual world, and I think it's an important distinction. Yeah.
Okay, well, a lot more of that if you can chase it up. I do have copies. Maybe we'll better show it at some other point. Interesting, actually, that sort of although Philip Rosedale is back with Second Life as a consultant, Brad here is increasingly, as CEO, sort of taking, coming out and showing himself talking and stuff like that, where, Linden Labs itself is concerned, Philip's reach tends to be a bit broader. So interesting to see him talking here. But as I say, can't show it all. That belongs to Bloomberg. Right. I think... Oh, yeah, finally, just a glimpse at Lightship. Did I show this earlier? Oh, I've got a wheelie.
To be moving into place, and it's actually going to be today's video. I'm really excited to show you and tell you about my trip to the Lightship Summit, where I learned a lot about VPS. And VPS is what they call the visual positioning system, and it's going to allow us to place and restore anchors. And like the demo that I'm showing you right now, there's basically an object that we have to detect. Once we detect the object, which means that we are localizing the object, the ship is going to be moving into place, and it's actually going to be throwing a chain, and that chain is going to attach exactly at the position of the ring, which is really impressive, and that was one of the experiences that blew me away from the Lightship Summit. So,
most of us have witnessed the power of social media to unite people, and through it, the ability to create, discover, and share the content we care about on a global level. But with so many different platforms, apps, and devices competing for our attention, it's become all too easy to change the channel. To cut through the noise, people are moving towards immersive platforms like live streaming, audio spaces, and virtual reality. They're building communities, sharing ideas, broadening perspectives, and through it all, they're finding purpose. At Humanity XR, we're building a platform to help people discover experiences worth sharing. A platform to find events across all of XR. A platform that represents the best in humanity. Join a global community focused on social impact and discover what's playing in XR today. Visit us online today at humanityxr.com.
Well, there we go, a tiny little advert there. So, that's it. James, any thoughts on all the here, there, and everywhere for this week?
Nope, not today. I think we have to move along, so that's fine.
We have to move along. Okay. Right, well, I'm going to be showing it twice, I think, but I'm going to just, if you are staying with this channel, in about 15 minutes, we're going to close, and then we'll be coming back on there with our program called the InWorld Review. But I'm going to just run another little advert, which you will find more about when we have our talk on the InWorld Review. So this is Harmony Ikaki app. This is basically an app. Well, it's an advert for a forthcoming app, but the environment in which it's been created will probably look familiar to you. So, nice advert too. I'll tell her in a minute. Well, there we go. There we go. We're going to be talking about that very shortly, amongst many other things, because our guest on the InWorld Review is Lobo, is the third name you can see on those credits there. But we'll have another look at that on the other program. Okay, so yeah, James had all his comments done, or not done, as the case may be. It's time to say goodbye, right? So it's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye from him.
So goodbye from the two of us. Stay safe, everybody. Remember that the world is still full of viruses as well as nukes. Sorry. And yeah, look after yourselves, and we will be back same time, same place next week with the MBTV news. So it's a wrap for now. Bye.